joining us. Now, the cost of living crisis has sparked a spike in first-time shoplifters. That's according to supermarket bosses. Well, we visited a shop in East London that was losing £1,500 in stock every week. That was until they installed artificial intelligence cameras in store, making them the first in the UK to do so, and losses were then reduced by over 90%. So what's the picture in London? Our reporter Jessica Ewer has this.
Gary was first arrested for shoplifting when he was just 9.
Shoplifting, when there's no money, it becomes a necessity. And it's low-level street crime, but it leads on to other crime because you get confident. But it was a necessity, you know, through poverty. Poverty breeds crime and dysfunction. Having cardboard boxes and sellotape in your shoes to keep them together, growing up and not knowing when the next meal's coming, it gives a big reality check. Hunger is quite painful.
Gary's shoplifting is in the past, but data from the Met shows the number of reported shoplifting offences is up. The most recent data from March shows a 25% increase on the same time last year. That's an extra 149 offences every week. But retail bosses say that's just the tip of the iceberg, with most offences going unreported. One shop in East London was losing £1,500 of stock every week. Turning to tech, they installed facial recognition cameras and software that detects suspicious movements. They're now losing just £100 a week.
This was like going way beyond the limit, like we couldn't handle it, and it was getting worse and worse. So that's why we started putting face recognition camera. Anyone tries to take anything and put in the jacket or in the trouser or in the buggy, straight away we get a little notification through our mobile phones and as well as in the tills and tablets to all our devices within 30 seconds. And then we approach the customer and say, we still offer them the basket. They would like to use the basket and make a payment.
But the problem increasingly, Gary says, is people simply can't afford to pay. Working with some of London's most vulnerable, he says the cost of living crisis is pushing more people towards shoplifting.
You know, the cost of living is spiralled. It's spiralled out of control, and crime within the next 6 months, you know, low-level street crime, the magistrates' courts will be full. You know, you want to put food in your mum's belly, your belly. I know the temptations are so powerful that you will want to do this. Try not to, but out of necessity, people will do it.
Out of necessity, people will do it. Rushanara, how do we remedy this when people are so desperate they're turning to shoplifting?
Well, it's a desperate situation, and it's symptomatic of a wider problem of poverty that's been on the rise for years in this country. And the cost of living crisis, the cost of food going up has fueled that. And of course, shoplifting isn't a victimless crime. We've seen small businesses bear the cost of shoplifting, but the reality is this is just desperate for people, and that's why they are resorting to shoplifting. What we need is more support from the government for those who are particularly in need. Obviously, the announcement yesterday goes some way to provide support, but it's not going to be enough. And the universal credit uplift that was provided during the pandemic, that was very helpful. Removing that has added more pressure on families. I see that all the time when I see residents, when I see food bank queues growing longer and longer, and food banks struggling to meet the demand that has grown in our capital.
Yeah, Tony, we can all feel compassion for people who are desperate enough to shoplift, but it can't be excused, can it, whatever the circumstances?
Well, this is the one subject where I completely disagree with the Labour MP. The reality is it's theft, and detection rates have gone down from over 30% by the Met Police 6 years ago to 8.8%. And guess who's the Police and Crime Commissioner for London? Sadiq Khan. These are not victimless crimes, these are serious crimes. The Met need to do more. I'm always raising this with the acting commissioner at the moment, and the mayor has been soft on crime, and we can't excuse it at all. We can't. It is an issue about crime.
It's a victimless crime.
No, it's not.
But your party has forced people into poverty and destitution.
That is nonsense.
And that's what needs to be addressed.
No, what needs to be addressed is criminals have to be caught.
Yeah, rule breakers that break the law and don't resign need to be addressed, and you sat here and defended the Prime Minister for breaking
And you defended Keir Starmer, who's still under charge.
Let's talk about shoplifting. Tony, you blame Sadiq Khan, you blame the police, but it's very difficult for the police to put resources into this kind of low-level, it's not victimless, as you said, but this kind of low-level crime, and there are so many other more serious issues for them to be dealing with.
Of course, but they can always do more in how they advise businesses, and that business on your report is excellent. That's exactly what business should be doing. But of course, there's a cost of investment in AI technology. But I applaud the local business that you have on your report. But the reality is, we can't be soft on crime, and Labour need to remember that.
I think this government has shown it's extremely soft on crime. Rape convictions have gone to an all-time low.
In London, under this mayor.
People are across the country on this government's watch. They closed London Mayor Boris Johnson, when he was mayor, shut down 76 police stations. 76 police stations were shut. This government has cut police officers by 21,000 over the last...
Well, one senior police officer said last week officers should use their discretion when deciding whether to prosecute people who steal to eat. But it's a slippery slope, isn't it? And it can lead to a life of crime.
Well, look, if people have committed crimes, of course they need to be apprehended and the appropriate punishment needs to be provided. But the point is, as he has made, we have to be proportionate about this. And the police can't deal with the underlying problems. The government has to deal with that, and that's the cost of living crisis. That's the fact that this government has caused the poverty that people are suffering from by not providing the appropriate support to people. And we've had a decade of austerity, and the consequence, I'm afraid, is rising levels of poverty, including in this city. It's gone up. It hasn't gone down, and that's what needs to be addressed.
Okay, that is all we have got time for this week. My thanks to my guest, to Roshanara, and to Tony. My thanks to you for watching. We're not on air next weekend, but we will be back on the 12th of June. Thanks very much, and goodbye for now. Take care.